Good afternoon, everyone. Just wanted to do a quick recap. I didn't make any trades today. Wasn't really anything that was popping up for me or sticking out to me in the morning. The biggest one that I was interested in was SNTI. In the morning, I was looking at this in pre-market. I was looking at it around here. And for me, I didn't take this trade and I'm not mad about it for a number of reasons. The first reason was the volume was around 2 million in pre-market, and it just wasn't really a lot for me. And you can kind of see here the volume kind of, I was looking at it here and then it kind of was fading. Volume was kind of dying a little bit. So it was 20 million in volume. There was 30 million, one day of 30 million of volume resistance. That was the first thing. The second thing is I didn't really like the catalyst of phase one news, and then they shortly after another PR about like convertible debt. So I thought that was a little sketch. And it was already up from $2. And I was looking at it at this 5 range here. So, it was up from 2 to 5, lower volume. I just had what happened to CYCN to me last week, which was the same volume, 20 million. Didn't like the catalyst, and it was Monday morning, and there wasn't a lot on the scan either. So I was kind of like, okay, it's kind of what happened to me last week with CYCN, right? Nothing on the scan, kind of low volume. In this case, it was a little bit different because there was a catalyst. So kind of good to know going forward that a catalyst can mean a lot sometimes. But just I wasn't interested, and when I saw it, and at this point right here, it wasn't even 20% from pre-market high. Right here was 20%, the support line I made around 5. So then I'm like, well, it has all these things, the low volume, the weird catalyst. It's Monday, slow scan. I wanted it to fall here 30% to this kind of daily support line right here. When it faded and cracked, I just let it go like I always do. And then this happened. And from there, there's just no other play for me. So I'm really not upset about this at all. It just wasn't for me. And I don't think there's much for me to kind of reevaluate. The only thing was that it looked really good on Dilution Tracker, but CYCN also looked really good on Dilution Tracker. So I really don't mind missing this at all. And it kind of closed strong. First off, I obviously went completely parabolic, right? And I thought about, I don't know, maybe buying this little afternoon thing here for a scalp, 10%. I like these plays a lot. But I was watching the giveaways, and just at this point, I was kind of already checked out. I had some errands to do and stuff like that. So not mad about that at all. The other big mover was PPBT. Again, I'm not mad about missing this at all. This one had a decent catalyst of phase 2 news, but it had high overhead supply on Dilution Tracker. And, to me, this type of reversal is somewhat random. It's kind of an arbitrary support level. I guess you could kind of argue this first volume bar here, if I'm looking at this correctly. No, okay, so this first volume bar here didn't even really have a lot of volume. It did. But this is really where the volume came out, on all the way up here. So to me, there wasn't a daily support line here. So to me, I wasn't interested. And I kind of immediately wrote it off when I saw Dilution Tracker. I don't want to get into the habit of that, but right now, as a new trader, I want to just focus on like really, really good plays. So, and this is just, I don't know, rarely happens, but I'm very happy to see that, 1, gap and crab reversals are working, and 2, maybe we're getting some phase news momentum of some sort, right? The 2 biggest percentage gainers on the day that went parabolic were on phase news. So very happy about that. The other play that I was looking at was a first green day bounce on GNS. Now, I'm not going to play first green days at all this month, I don't think, because of what happened last month. I think I'm just going to continue observing this month. But I'm super, super happy with how this played out because it kind of played out to my thesis of what I was talking in my last video, which is ideally what I want with the first green day going forward is some random spike here and then a dip back to support and then a rip, which is exactly what happened. And even better with this one, GNS had a catalyst about Bitcoin. So really kind of happened to a T, but I didn't play. I was kind of just checked out today, honestly, with the giveaways and turns. But I'm super, super happy to see this. And also it kind of like it broke down. What I was envisioning in my head was that it would kind of fall to here and then rip, not like fall directly to support and then kind of consolidate and then take a long time to rip. But again, I think the thesis was still there. And even if I bought here, the risk would have been fine. It would have been literally a cent and a half. So super happy to see that in person. Another play that I wasn't even really thinking about at first was PRZO. Day 2 kind of morning spike. I wasn't thinking about this at all because I wanted it to fall here. And I was just checked out. Just seeing the scan had me checked out. So I just probably wasn't going to do anything anyway. But it looks decent on dilution tracker. It had a decent catalyst on Friday. And I found this kind of interesting. It makes a higher low here in the pre-market. Could have bought, let's say at 167, risking 156. Not bad at all. And then, you have this decent morning spike on a day 2 continuation low with a decent dilution tracker scenario with a good catalyst. So I like all that. But what I found what was interesting is that the day 1 and day 2 action were very, very similar. On day 1, it spikes, it dips, kind of makes these higher lows, spikes right in the morning. Day 2, spikes, dips, makes a higher low, spikes right in the morning. So I thought that was very interesting, and I think going forward, that might have been the cherry on top for me to pull the trigger. You have this higher low. I just love the concept of a higher low. You have a day 2. We've been seeing things continue. It has a decent catalyst. It looks decent on dilution tracker. It's doing the same exact thing it did on day 1. Your risk is okay. You didn't really even have to worry about it dumping at the open because it's, this was at 912. So, it spiked. And then even if it did dump, you would have had time to get out at your entry. And it spiked right at the open. So kind of interesting. I thought that was interesting. And that was really it. OPTT day 4 continuation looks great on dilution tracker, but then kind of dumped on bad earnings. So for tomorrow, I'm just looking at my gap and crops. That's my go-to play. I really just want to focus on those. And I did technically lose on a reverse split swing. I was holding LUXH for a couple of days. So it came on my scan around here, around the 140s. It cracked, had this low here, spiked a little bit, and then cracked again around 120, and then I got in here. Just using this low as risk, and then it broke the risk today and faded a little bit more. Now it's really close to 1, which makes me interested. But the rule I talked about in my last video, I'm not double dipping. If this goes without me, I'm fine, right? I really don't care. I do have some others on my reverse split watch. LGMK bouncing near 1, round number. I need a little dip back here for something to happen. SLXN, kind of consolidating here. I need a little dip to support. But I'm focusing on biotechs with these, right? because the 2 top percent gainers were biotech. So we have SLXN, CTXR, right? Just split, support level near 250-ish, right? APVO is actually bouncing, but it's not splitting for a couple days. So I'm not obviously going to do anything with that. JFBR had a catalyst this morning, but still faded. So I might take this off, but it's, consolidating around this half number here. And then Pola, same thing, consolidating around this kind of 250 area. So definitely looking at biotechs, definitely looking at phase news. But overall, I honestly would say today was fairly slow, and that's why I was just kind of turned off. Then we had the giveaways all day. I was just kind of checked out. I had some errands to do, and I really, really do not mind missing the SNTI and the PPBT. I was thinking Sex Panther with SNTI as well, but it never even really dipped in the morning. Right? I mean, it didn't even go back to 5. So it's just, I just can't do anything with that. And that is it. So for tomorrow, I'm looking at my gap and craps, looking at those reverse splits. I'm not mad at all about my loss on LLUXH. Losing 10%, I'm not happy with, but, so I could tweak my entry maybe a little bit. But, I mean, it was near 1. Has a high cash need on dilution tracker. It had a big crack to support, and it just didn't work. So I'm not really too mad about it. But we did see, I forgot, I knew I was going to forget something. APLM, super low volumes, like 100,000 volume. But I mean, went from 8 to 11 today. And this is a reverse split, and it's a biotech. So that's another reason why I'm looking at biotechs for these reverse splits and in general. And if we see a phase something tomorrow, gap and crap, I'm probably gonna have to get in. So that's it. Hope y'all have a good night.